1.
Hi guys. So quite often I hear really inspirational, incredible stories from type 1s all over the world. So I wanted to start this series within a series as part of our vlogs to talk about some of the inspirational stories that I've heard from type 1s in all stages of life, living in all countries and doing all kinds of amazing things. And this story was written by Rosamund Snow, who was the patient contribution editor for the British Medical Journal. And this story is particularly poignant because Rosamund unfortunately passed away a few months after writing this. But her story is so uplifting that I really wanted to share it with all of you. So here goes. When I was a kid, I wanted to be the kind of person who can crash land in the desert and walk for days to safety. The loyal adventurer who won't give up searching the mountains for a friend, even when everyone else is exhausted. Then I got a diagnosis of type 1 diabetes. Life with type 1 is manageable, but it's hard work to be adventurous, and it's impossible to be completely spontaneous. If I were dropped in the desert, I'd die pretty quickly. In fact, if I want to walk to the shops or even eat a piece of fruit, I have to plan, think about what happened since my last injection, and what's likely to happen before the next one. I have to carry emergency supplies. I have to do blood tests. I can't even have a drink without having to do maths. Nobody real had died, but the person I wanted to be had gone forever. As a patient, I had to be obedient or the doctors disapproved. Well-meaning people wanted to pity me, while less well-meaning people were disgusted by me as a burden on the health system. I felt trapped in a prison cell. People would look in and tell me how sorry they were for me, but they could always walk away, while I could never, ever escape. I stopped sleeping, I started getting panic attacks. I made the kinds of detailed plans for suicide that should have rung every kind of alarm bell. But I kept looking for other reasons for my misery. I didn't connect it up with my prison cell nightmare, or even the fact that when I went to have blood taken at the clinic, tears poured silently down my face all the way through. I went to a counsellor, but I didn't mention my diabetes. It didn't cross my mind that it was acceptable to be grieving the fact that I was no longer healthy. Maybe the nurses noticed me crying and said something to my doctor, or maybe he was wise enough to know that just because my blood sugar was well controlled, it didn't mean my emotions were. For the first time, he asked me how I was feeling, rather than what my blood test strips said. I started to tell him that actually I'd had the diagnosis over a year. I was fine. But before I could say any of that, I started sobbing again. He did 2 life-saving things. Firstly, he told me that it was not surprising I was upset after a serious diagnosis like diabetes, that he would expect me to be going through a bereavement process. Secondly, he told me to go and talk to Monica, one of the specialist nurses who also had type 1 diabetes. Why was Monica so valuable? Not because of her healthcare professional expertise, but because she wasn't a perfect patient with diabetes. She knew how hard it is to be the weird one in the room, of healthy people who don't really care or understand what we have to think about all the time. She still had days where she got angry and sad that she'd got this disease. She let me know it was okay to mourn who I used to be. I still thought I was stupid and selfish to be so upset, but something started to change in my head. I hadn't followed the classic stages of grief, because like Monica, I still have days when having diabetes makes me angry and sad, and days where I'm just enormously tired of this never-ending disease. But 25 years on, I'm no longer in denial, and I've accepted who I am. It's even possible to move from grief to pride. Those of us with type 1 diabetes are among the hardest working people you'll ever meet. I'm proud of us.